On March 13, 1977, the world was shocked by the disappearance of a young woman named Catherine Lee. Catherine was an heiress to a vast fortune. The daughter of a successful businessman, she had everything money could buy, but despite her privileged life, she was far from happy. In fact, Catherine's life was a tangled web of secrets and lies, and now that she's gone, it's up to the police to unravel them all. But as they dig deeper into her past, they uncover a sinister plot that reaches far beyond Catherine's wildest nightmares. So join us as we delve into this unsolved case and discover what really happened to the missing heiress. Catherine Lee's life was not an easy one. Born into a wealthy family in Hong Kong, she had always felt the pressure of living up to her father's expectations. Her father, Victor Lee, was a successful businessman who had made a fortune in real estate, and he had high hopes for his only child. From the time she was a little girl, Catherine was sent to the best schools and given every opportunity to succeed. But no matter what she did, it was never enough for her father. He was constantly criticizing her and comparing her to other, richer families. To make matters worse, Catherine's parents had divorced when she was just a teenager, and she was forced to move in with her father and his new wife. She missed her mother terribly and felt like an outsider in her own home. To escape the suffocating environment, Catherine turned to alcohol and drugs. She started hanging out with a bad crowd and her grades began to slip. When her father found out, he was furious. He cut off her allowance and hired a team of private investigators to watch her every move. Catherine felt like a prisoner in her own city. She couldn't go anywhere without being followed, and her every move was scrutinized. She was desperate to break free from her father's clutches, but she didn't know how. Then she met a man named David Kim. David was a charming and charismatic man who made Catherine feel like the only girl in the room. He was a successful businessman himself, and he showered Catherine with expensive gifts and took her on lavish vacations. For the first time in her life, Catherine felt truly happy. She was in love, and she felt like she had finally escaped her father's control. But as time went on, Catherine began to notice some red flags in David's behavior. He was often distant and secretive, and he would get angry if she tried to ask too many questions. Despite this, Catherine was head over heels in love, and she ignored the warning signs. She thought that David was the man of her dreams, and that he could make her father's life a living hell. But as we now know, David was not who he pretended to be. In reality, he was a con artist with a long history of scamming women. He had met Catherine with the sole purpose of stealing her money, and he had already made plans to get rid of her once he was done. But Catherine was not an easy target. She was smart and resourceful, and she was able to hold her own against David. She fought back and managed to outsmart him at every turn. David was furious, and he realized that he had made a mistake trying to con Catherine, but he was too far in, too deep to back out now. He had already spent a large sum of Catherine's money, and he needed more. He tried to manipulate Catherine into giving him more money, but she refused. That's when David came up with a sinister plan to get rid of Catherine and collect on her vast inheritance. On March 13, 1977, David invited Catherine to go sailing with him on his yacht. Catherine agreed and boarded the yacht without suspecting a thing. But once they were out on the open sea, David's true colors emerged. He revealed that he had drugged Catherine's drink, and that he had no intention of returning her to shore alive. David tied up Catherine and threw her into the ocean. He watched as she struggled to stay afloat, but he didn't care. He had already made plans to collect on Catherine's vast inheritance, and he was ungoing to let anything stand in his way. As Catherine struggled to keep herself upright in the choppy waters, she knew that she was in grave danger. She had never been a strong swimmer, and the weight of the life buoy around her neck made it even harder to keep her head above water. She tried to call out for help, but her voice was quickly lost in the wind. Just when she thought she couldn't take it anymore, a police boat arrived on the scene. They had been searching for a missing sailor, and when they saw Catherine in the water, they wasted no time in pulling her out. As the officers helped her onto the boat, she was weak and shivering, but she was alive. When Catherine was brought back to shore, she was taken to a local hospital where she was treated for hypothermia. Once she was released from the hospital, she went straight to the police station to file a report against David. She told the officers everything that had happened, and they wasted no time in launching a manhunt for David. But as the days turned into weeks, there was still no sign of David. He had vanished without a trace, and the police were stumped. As the investigation continued, the police uncovered a shocking secret about Catherine's father. They discovered that Victor Lee had been involved in a lot of shady dealings, and he had made a lot of enemies along the way. This led the police to believe that Catherine's disappearance may have been linked to her father's criminal activities. But as they dug deeper into Victor's life, they uncovered a secret that shook them to their core. They discovered that Victor had been embezzling money from his company and had been living a double life as a drug dealer. With this new information, the police were able to narrow down their search and eventually found David's yacht. When they searched the yacht, they found evidence that linked David to Catherine's disappearance. But despite all the evidence against him, David was nowhere to be found. The police continued to search for David, but it was to no avail. He had vanished, and he was never seen again. Catherine, meanwhile, was left traumatized by her experience. She suffered from nightmares and flashbacks, and was unable to sleep or concentrate. She felt like her entire life had been turned upside down, and she didn't know how to move forward. As the years went by, Catherine tried to put her life back together. She got married and had children, and tried to focus on the positive aspects of her life. But the trauma of her experience with David lingered, and she was never able to fully move on. Today, the case of the missing heiress remains unsolved. The police still don't know what happened to David, and they may never find out. But Catherine's grateful that she survived the ordeal and is determined to live her life to the fullest. Now here's some shocking facts about the case that will leave you speechless. Get ready for a wild ride because we're about to take you behind the scenes of this unsolved mystery. Did you know that Catherine's father, Victor Lee, was rumored to be involved in the illegal drug trade? This secret was so well hidden that it took the police years to uncover it. You won't believe what they found when they finally did. Speaking of secrets, Catherine had a secret of her own. She was battling a severe addiction to alcohol and drugs. This made her a target for predators like David, who knew how to exploit her weaknesses. And speaking of David, there's something creepy about him that the police found out after his disappearance. They discovered that he had been stalking Catherine for months before abducting her. He knew her routine inside out, and he was always one step ahead of her. But what really happened to Catherine after she was rescued? Well, here's the twist. She disappeared again, but this time it was under mysterious circumstances. Some believe that she faked her own disappearance to escape her toxic father and start a new life. But others believe that David had accomplices who came for her even after she was rescued. So, what do you think? Do you believe that Catherine faked her disappearance? Or was she taken again? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And that's not all. We've got one more shocking fact that will blow your mind. Ready? Here it goes. After Catherine's disappearance, a series of strange events began to happen around the Lee family. Their cars were vandalized, their homes were robbed, and they even received anonymous threats. It was like someone was trying to send them a message. This unsolved case has left many questions unanswered and theories debated. Some believe that the police never really looked hard enough for David, and that he is still out there somewhere. Others believe that Catherine is still alive and living under a false identity. But the truth is, we may never know what really happened to the missing heiress. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching.